The only real buyers in silver in the United States are who is ever buying those 1,000-ounce COMX LBMA rated bars. The retail sector in the United States sucks. It's terrible.
For a year and a half, you bought silver from the public without knowing where, how, or to who you would load it off to?
Yeah, I got gonads. So
I like you. You have balls.
Hey guys, Ralph here from the Endgame Investor, and I got my friend Brian Kuzma on the line. He is the proprietor of Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals on Commercial Boulevard in Lauderdale by the Sea, hence commercial because it's on Commercial Boulevard. I've been to the store. It's a really nice place. He's right by the beach, and there aren't enough lizards there, but we're going to talk about that later because of pesticides. But anyway, that was what we were talking about beforehand. Ryan, are you frozen? Wait, okay, I see it. You're muted
it
again.
froze up there for a brief second here. Yeah, so I think
Okay,
I'm good right now.
okay, good. Well, don't freeze again. Just stay warm. Well, I mean, you're in Fort Lauderdale, so you should be fine. All right.
Yes, hopefully.
Uh, basically, I wanted to talk to Brian because I want to know what's going on the ground in the retail shops in one of the more affluent areas of the country. Lauderdale by the Sea has a lot of people with a lot of money. And are they buying precious metals? Is Brian able to hedge? Because I remember during the time of the move to 120, you sent out a few tweets that you were stopped. You no longer accepted junk silver because you weren't able to offload it to whoever was going to buy it, presumably a refiner, a metal ore, or a SI, or one of those other guys, or whoever it is that you do business with. Um, so how has the market changed since then? Are people buying silver? Are you able to offload it to whoever buys it from you? And what's hedging like these days?
The silver is still your two major refiners out there, Asai, or the two only LBMA and CME rated refiners in the United States, Asai and Metal Ore. They're still backed up. I believe it's possible that we may see some of those companies, those two companies, free up a little bit and start accepting domestic scrap. And again, I did a video recently, I'm not sure if you got a chance to look at it, about the issues that we're having in the United States with refiners. And again, only two LBMA and CME rated refiners in the United States. Well, they're the ones that are selling all the silver. Everybody else sells to them for the most part. If they're not producing their own bars, they sell to them, and they're still backed up. They're still my belief is that, and what I put a case forward to was that it was mining out of Central and Mexico and South America is why the freeze on domestic scrap happened. It's a whole long story on that. But they're still not buying. 90% is still pretty much discounted. Sterling is pretty much discounted still. So it really hasn't changed much. I mean, you can buy 90% well under spot. You can buy a lot of other products well under spot. Scrap sterling, again, really nobody's accepting it right now. There's a few companies out there that are starting to, I believe I heard Elemental, I'm not quite sure, will take metal in and produce and turn your bars into bars and give them back to you for a fee. But as far as getting, when we sell silver to the big majors and our scrappers, we'd get 99% of the spot price, so 1% less, more or less.
Okay, so who's buying it from you?
Right now,
Presumably, when somebody sells you their roll of junk dimes or quarters or whatever they have, you're selling it to somebody.
yeah, currently right now, I think the discounts are pretty heavily, and we're selling it back to other industry people that have either again producing silver bars with it, or they're just stockpiling it, one or the other. I mean, Metal Ore and Asai may be taking metal in and start. And I got to tell you, I did send in a big lot just recently. I got hit pretty heavy with charges for it, and they're not hedging. They're not going to hedge right now. They're not even hedging with gold. At least Metal Ore isn't. And I think they're not even locking in spot prices now until your orders are complete. In the past, you could send in gold, lock in a spot price, and they'd figure it for you there. At least Metalor right now is not even doing that with gold, much less silver.
So wait, hold on. Does that mean that when you sell somebody all this junk silver that the public is giving you or selling to you,
Mhm.
how do you know? When do you know what you're going to get for it?
On silver, right now, the lot that I just sent in, and I feel fortunate, even though I'm not happy with the numbers I got, or the check-in numbers and other things, which is kind of, I can't really discuss that, but I'm probably one of the few dealers in the country that has sent a lot into, you know, Metalord in recent times. I don't know if I should discuss that. It cost me a pretty penny to do it, and was quite a large amount of silver that I've been accumulating for a year and a half now, which takes a lot of working capital to tie up. But currently, it's 45 days out. You can't lock it in. You can't hedge it. So that's what I'm dealing with now. I'm hoping that these two companies by summer start to slow down a little bit and start taking domestic scrap in. But what has happened with the two largest refiners in the country for silver is that, again, Mexican mining has, or South American mining, made a contract with both these companies, I believe, okay? Now, you're not going to get this out of either one of these companies. Their customers, as it should be, they're very tight-lipped about who they do business with, how they do business with. But, my investigation and my looking around, I am pretty certain that both of these companies, Metalor and Asai, took in big contracts that were worthwhile to them to take for a couple reasons. The stuff was over 900 fine. It was much easier to process. And the other reason is they were probably offered very lucrative money to push all this Mexican silver and the South American silver through their processes. But in doing that, they basically blocked out all domestic scrap, which means, when I say domestic scrap, I'm talking about dealers like myself, 90% scrap silver, hollowware, flatware, jewelry. So they basically blocked, if you were a domestic scrapper and you're dealing with these two companies, they basically said, no more, we're cutting off right now, and all we're doing is mining stuff. I believe
Wait,
that
but you said you are selling to them, so
I am right now, just recently.
okay.
This is just recent,
Oh,
after a
okay.
year and a half. Over a year of me accumulating silver to my best of my ability and
Oh,
sticking
okay.
it in the back room because I had nowhere to go with it. Now, I'm not the only one out there,
So you're saying for a year and a half you bought silver from the public without knowing where, how, or to who you would load it off to?
Yeah, I got gonads, so.
I like you. You have balls.
But my faith in the price of silver, where it was going, is pretty much what kept me solid. But the problem I started to have is I had to start backing off on certain deals. I was getting large. I stopped buying from other wholesalers and dealers because the margins were too thin. You know what I'm saying? I was still buying from the public at a heavy discount if I needed to. And I always told people when they come in, listen, I'm heavily discounting it. I'm taking a lot of risk here, and tying up a lot of working capital. So I was still buying the stuff, at a big discount. And again, not really wanting to make the big discount, but just saying that's the only way I can probably do this and not get hurt badly. But the problem was, I started over a year and a half, I started using up a lot of my working capital, excess working capital. But recently I was able to send a lot in, and again, the terms were pretty, not really, it's the most I've ever paid to do a lot, okay? But I was fortunate that they really did. I'm a good domestic customer of theirs. They took the time, they said, hey, listen, we know you've been loading up, because I've been talking to my rep, we know you've been loading up for a while. We can provide you this slot. I had one day to prepare a huge amount of ounces, barrels and barrels of barrels of scrap, to get to them.
Now I've got no place to go.
And I had one day to do it because that's how adamant they were. We'll put you in this little spot right here. And again, I've had a good working relationship with them. And then maybe there's some other dealers out there that are getting the same thing, but My understanding is that they're not telling me when this will end and when they'll start going back to taking in, silver from all the domestic scrappers.
When you sold your big batch of a year and a half of backlog, was
Right.
that before or after or during the silver crash in January?
After. After. I
After.
was accumulating all the way up to, $119 an ounce, okay?
Uh-huh.
But, remember also, uh, they stopped taking silver a little over a year ago. So, I've been buying from probably 40, 35, 40 bucks an ounce, maybe a little bit higher, 50 or 40 or 50, probably 35, 40, I'm sorry, up to the 119. However, when silver was flying from that up to that $119 mark, we weren't buying a lot of silver as much as we were selling silver. People were kind of panicking, wanting to come in, and is it going to go to 150? People were hanging on to silver as well. But not to mention, a lot of customers that we had were coming in and we were saying, hey, listen, it's heavily discounted. This is what I told people on 90%, 40%, constitutional coin, sterling silver, and other stuff that's less than 900 fine. I was saying, best thing to do is just hang on to it. Wait for this refining crisis or this refining fiasco to kind of flatten out, and domestic scrappers can get back into the groove of buying silver, selling it. But and I think we may see that by the end of the year. I know it sounds like a long time, but I don't think they're ready right now. If we were lucky, those two companies may start be buying domestic scrap, you know what I mean, from their customers. And a lot of guys are asking me why, there's all these other refiners out there, Elemental, there's and a bunch of others I can't name that are good refiners as well. But again, the problem is the only real buyers in silver in the United States are who is ever buying those 1,000-ounce COMX LBMA rated bars. The retail sector in the United States sucks. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's probably at the worst I've seen it in since prior to 2020. As far as retail sales in silver and retail sales in gold. There was a rush to buy silver when we were flying again. The FOMO crowd started just flying in, that 50 to 119 mark. After that, pretty much gone, And I don't think, I can't say everybody in the whole country, but I would bet you any honest bullion dealer out there will tell you it's just flat. There's nothing happening right now. You got a little bit of stuff coming in, you got a few more buyers coming in, but it's a fraction of where it was there for a while. So
Okay.
if you don't have retail silver buyers, you can't sell retail silver product. And that's why all these refiners are having issues. They can't sell retail silver product. You can't sell 100-ounce bars. You can't sell one. Not you can't sell them, but there's not a big enough market for them.
So you're saying they can only sell the 1,000-ounce bars to people who are trading the real wholesale stuff on Comex for contracts and all that
That's
stuff.
what I'm saying. I'm saying that the retail part of the business has died, and that's where a lot of these small refiners offloaded their silver to. And the other ones that weren't offloading it to retail coin and bar business were selling it to metal ore or a SI to be made into LBA COMX bars. So once the retail business dried up, there's no place to go with that stuff. A lot of these guys just stopped buying it or whatever, because if you noticed, again, a lot of the smaller companies just stopped buying silver. The smaller refiners, they just stopped buying, especially under 900 fine. So the retail business is dead, but obviously Asai and Metalor are cranking out 1,000-ounce bars, and I don't know if they're running it 24/7 at these companies, but there's plenty of products. Someone's buying it from them, but it's not the retail public.
Okay, well, I mean that's something I hear a lot when I do a little bit of a I don't listen religiously to anyone in my immediate space because it just confuses me because I need to keep I need to keep my eye on my own thoughts.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I just like I take a survey of what people are saying generally, and I hear a lot that the COMX is being drained. I hear that all over and over again. But then I look at the COMX and I see that yeah it's gone down since 3 or 4 months ago, but still aside from that we're near record highs in the amount of silver bars that are just stuck in the vaults in New York. So somebody owns these things. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, maybe you know this, that I've been tracking the open interest in silver futures for a while, and I've noticed that it's extremely low right now. I mean, there was a little bit of a bump up yesterday, about 4,500 contracts were added. But we've been below 100,000 for about 2, 3 weeks now, and we haven't been there since like 2008, 2009.
Hmm.
So, and you mentioned that the big refiners are not hedging. First of all, why are they not hedging? And do you think that this is related to the fact that open interest on Comex is so low?
I don't know. That's kind of out of my wheelhouse. That's something that you could probably explain better. As far as the hedging goes, though, I know that, for example, these companies that were buying, like metal ore, for example, you're buying an ounce of gold. They were buying an ounce of gold for $1,200, $2,000, $3,000. Now, that same ounce of gold is double and triple what they once paid. So it requires a lot more money and a lot more loans from banks in order for these companies to operate. Hedging, I don't know what happened with hedging. I've never really hedged, to be honest with you. I've always kind of just rolled the dice and let things fly upward. My feeling is that I just accumulate more silver and more silver and more silver, sell off excess when I can. And same thing with gold. But I don't really hedge personally. Um, so, but I believe that hedging had cost them money somehow. And again, I can't explain that. I'll look more into it. But metal ore is again one of the larger gold companies or gold refiners out there. Also LBMA, COMX rated too. Um, they stopped buying scrap for a little bit because they were overwhelmed with it. That's gold, not even silver, recently. And when they came back and said we're buying gold again, they came out and said that we're no longer hedging right now, and you can only sell your lot when it's completed. So besides silver, no one really expected that with gold, and that really does put a big crimp on a lot of dealers out there on gold. You know what I mean? Because now you can't pay. If anybody's wondering why the percentages and the dealers have wider margins right now, well, there's your answer right there. Especially in gold. Well, why are the margins wider now? Well, because now your gold dealer doesn't have the ability to hedge with the major refiners. But again, there are some companies out there, I think, smaller companies that are locking in, possibly. I don't know, but my experience is just dealing with again Metal Ore, who's a great company, and knowing about Asai and their business. I'm still waiting to be approved by Asai, by the way, as one of their representatives and dealers.
Okay, so when you say that you never hedge, then when you sent out that tweet that you were stopping your purchases of silver from the public, since you don't hedge, then why did you stop then, and what changed that you started up again?
I had to assess the situation, what was going on. I had to sit back and, I mean, there comes, again, I just started accumulating so much inventory. And then some of it I was still able to lay off, like 90%. There were still guys making offers out there, but it was discounted very heavily. And I was selling, there's so much 90% out there. There was so much constitutional silver out there. The sterling silver scrap, where the margins are bigger for me and much better, I didn't mind accumulating sterling silver. Again, flatware, scrap, that kind of thing. But on 90%, I was selling it to other dealers that were heavily discounting it because, I could have easily spent everything I possibly owned in one day on 90%. You know what I mean? There's so much of it out there that
You mean
I
so
was.
much people trying to sell you? You mean?
There's so much 90% out there that if you came to me today and you said, listen, I want to spend $10 million and I want delivery in a couple days, it would probably be easy to do with 90% silver versus 999 silver or that kind of thing. It's just out there, you know what I mean? And the reason it's out there because nobody's refining it. Nobody's really getting a chance to refine it and turn it into money.
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money.
So dealers are heavily discounting it, and that's kind of where we're at today. So I just, as soon as the dealers that I was selling 90 to said not buying, then I said I'm not buying. You know what I mean? So
Okay. And now that
it's all confusing, it's complex, and the way I do things may not always be correct, but I just had to reassess things when I said I'm not buying right now, because I didn't want to get loaded down with certain product. I had to sit and see where my situation, how much money do I have tied up, so.
Okay, but now things have calmed down and you're able to get the wheels going again then.
I got my first lot out, which I'm very thankful
Yeah.
towards. I'm thankful towards the people at Metalore that helped me do that. And otherwise, I'd still be sitting on it right now, you know. Uh, uh, so yeah, yeah. But again, I asked him, well, when can I send another lot? And there was really no answer. Will it be this summer? No answer. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
so
Well,
I'm
you
in
hear
the
that,
same.
folks. If you want to make some money, then become a giant refiner somehow.
Yeah, well, it you know, I'm not quite sure why we didn't see more people step in there. But again, it still confounds me why there's only two CME. You know, there's one COMX rated and LBMA rated refiners in the whole country. So, you know,
Mhm.
there's only two. I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't understand why there's not more out there. But you know,
Well, if you're a drug dealer, then the best thing to do is to take out your competition and make and like they did in Breaking
it,
Bad, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and again, this mining stuff, and I'm pretty certain I'm right on this. I have some evidence, but I don't want to discuss it, that I am right with the mining stuff coming through. At some point, I'm sure when that stuff starts to slow down again, you're going to see more the domestic scrapper. The guys in the U.S. are going to be able to start buying again, and the spreads will get a lot tighter.
So as I was saying that the open interest on the COMEX, meaning the amount of contracts that are notionally traded around, it's at lows not seen since 2009. At the same time, there's all this demand for COMEX bars. So that seems inconsistent to me, unless there's this demand for COMEX bars, but they're not going to be sold because if open interest is low, that means the amount of bars that are for sale are very low, and the rest are just being hoarded in the New York vaults. That doesn't make sense. But why would you need specifically a COMEX bar? Because eventually you want to. I'm just going through the thoughts in my head, and whatever you think of them. But because maybe you're thinking eventually you want to sell a 1,000 ounce bar on a registered futures market or something, but you're not going to do that now, so you're just going to keep it in storage. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of wholesale speculation that is not being put for sale, just like you were sitting on when a year and a half of inventory. It sounds like whoever's up there is sitting on, I don't know, 3, 4 years of Comex bar inventory that are just being stacked up there.
Um, as far as the refiners go, I don't think anything stacks up the refiners. I think as soon as they process the stuff, it's out the door to whoever the bidder or
Yeah,
whoever
yeah,
the
it's in the
buyer
New
is.
York. It's in New York vaults. You can
Yeah,
see it.
sitting at the New York vaults. But I mean, could it be Comex that was buying all this silver? Could it be? It's tough to say. I really don't know. But
Even if it's
my
not
feeling
Comex
was,
itself, I'm saying it's
but
it's
yeah,
someone who could potentially trade these bars on the exchange at some point.
yeah. Well, they got to be going somewhere. And again, that's the mystery to me because the refiners, as much as I like to talk to some of the people in that industry, in those two places, Asai and Metalore, they don't discuss anything about who their customers are at all, pretty much. So, but I'd be curious to where all that stuff is going consistently because again, it's not building up, and they're not saying we're not buying it all or we're not refining it all. So.
Mhm.
On the other hand, too, those two companies can only produce so much. You know what I mean? And I think if there was a huge demand, a good point here. If there was a bigger demand, you'd see another refiner opening up. But I don't see that happening. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I mean, it would take. I mean, there's other bigger problems in the world right now, like oil refineries are being bombed in the
Yeah.
Middle East, and
Yeah.
and Hormuz is still blocked, and Trump seems to know exactly what he's doing because he's playing 17-dimensional chess or whatever people say. But I don't know.
I don't know,
Um,
man. Why can't we all just get along? But
because
anyways, yeah.
people have different ideologies.
I
That's why.
know. I know. That's.
Yeah. So what about gold? What's going on with that? At least
Um,
in commercial rare coins and precious metals.
Gold sale again across the board. All bullion sales have pretty much slowed up dramatically. We still have our consistent buyers. We still have a certain amount of stackers, and It's just quiet. It's just, quiet. That's the best I can say. It's not too busy buying or selling. It's just much quieter than it has been over the last couple years. So,
Okay, so you're saying this is since the January 29th decline or crash, it's been
yeah.
quieter than it's been since what, 2020, 2021?
Yeah, to me, I think it's been quieter since 2020. Just the amount of people coming in the store, just the head count alone has gone down. So I'd say, on the average from 2020 to now, I would say we're down probably 60% or something, 60% plus head count
Wow.
of people that are coming in.
When's the
It
last
might
time
even
you
be less than that.
when's the last time you saw this kind of traffic?
Slow like this, probably, well, 2020 in that range. Back during the COVID era, and
Mhm.
when things were really quiet. Well, that was just abnormally quiet. But yeah, I'd say pre-2020 because you can't really use 2020 as a guide. Everything was closed. Um,
Right, except for
so
you refused.
pre-2020, yeah, quite a bit slower. Yeah, again, the head count on people buying gold and silver is down substantially. It has been since right before when silver shooting up to 119. It was busier than hell, man. We were lined up out the door. It was just crazy, lined up out the door for a couple weeks, a month or something like that. And then as soon as that happened, it just shut off, flatlined. So yeah, the retail bullion market in the United States is basically flatlined, in my opinion,
Well,
since
so
that time.
that tells you, or that tells me that okay, if it's just flatlined, then okay, so we had a big run up to 120, and then you had customers out the door for about a month, and now you're back to before 2020, but price has not gone down substantially at all. It's
Right.
still where are we now? 80, 82, 85? I forgot. Where are we today?
Uh, yeah, I think 84 and change or something like that. Last I
84.
looked. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're whatever happened in 2024, 2025 that introduced a new price zone or a new pricing regime. We're never going to go back to where we were before. Something
No.
fundamentally changed. But it wasn't that retail. It was something on the 1,000 ounce bars or some. Do you think it was industrial? I mean, what was it?
You mean the usage of, or what, the sales of silver prior to?
Why did the price go from 30 to 120 and not go back down to 30? It's settling at
Oh,
like 80, 85, 90.
I think that, when people talk about industrial uses, and that's probably it. And again, I've heard that we're what on our sixth or seventh consecutive year of silver. You know what I mean? Not enough silver, or
Mhm.
not enough silver out there. I think what they've been saying is, and I think we're just starting to, we're seeing the results of that. Boy, if the retail starts to go off, I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of retail product out there, but we'll see.
What do you mean if demand picks up?
Yeah, I think if retail sales pick up again, I don't even know how to figure the whole environment that's going on here with precious metals. Dealers aren't able to hedge, like I said. You can't lock in prices. The stuff costs 2 and 3 times as much to sell the same unit than it did like a couple years ago. You have to be way more capitalized now. One other thing I didn't mention is the refiners for gold and silver, metal ore, NSI have doubled their minimums. So, whereas you had to send them, a $500,000 worth of gold. I can't even say $500,000 worth of gold because it's different than what it would be in 2020. But they've doubled the ounces that you need to sell them.
You know,
You know,
the ounce minimum, not the dollar
yeah, the
minimum.
ounce minimum
Okay.
on yeah on gold, and I think that's across the board with both the SI and metal ore.
So
They've
what
doubled.
does that mean? What does that mean to you?
Well, it kind of means I think they're trying to eliminate the smaller domestic scrap people that they were dealing with. That's kind of my feeling on it, and just deal with people that are sitting in larger lots. I think it's probably more profitable for them. That's the only thing I can gather from that. Um,
Okay, so that's the general pattern of what inflation does. I mean, it concentrates capital. It makes small businesses sell themselves to big businesses. So you have all these huge conglomerates, and the small people or the small guys are trying to survive while this goes on, but eventually this all breaks up. The process of hyperinflation reverses this process so that the big players become less profitable, and the only ones who can survive are the small fish.
Right.
But that's the opposite process. But that's the process that we're all going to go through, and that's the breakup of big business, the crashing of the stock market, the breakup of capital into smaller units, and that's a traumatic process for a lot of people. But it brings society back to an even keel, which we're nowhere near. So,
Not even
uh,
close.
I mean, we might be close in time, but we're not close in the process yet. We still have to reverse and then go the other way.
Hopefully, we're nearing that point. So we'll see. When they told me what their new minimums were, and I said, okay, no problem, I can do it. I think they were actually surprised. But, I do believe both companies are trying to cut out the smaller players and get the smaller players to deal with the smaller refiners who are going to ultimately send to them. You know what I mean? On silver, the one other thing I can tell you is they don't want anything less than 900 fine right now. So if your lot comes in, if you want to sell them 800 fine silver, 700 fine silver, they don't want to take it. Right now, their minimum, they have a minimum amount of ounces that they'll take, which they've doubled. They also have a minimum fineness that they'll accept without hitting you with huge charges. And right now, they don't want anything less. The two big refiners don't want anything less than 900 fine silver. So,
Mhm.
if
I
you're
mean, but
sitting out,
how much silver is out there that's less than 90? I mean, sterling silver is more than that. Constitutional is 90%. But is it Canadian? Maybe Canadian junk is like a little bit less or something like that.
yeah,
And yeah,
that's why it's probably not that big of an issue,
mhm.
because I've got a couple barrels of that stuff sitting around that less than 900 fine. And the other thing that I can do is I can melt the stuff down to bars, put mostly 900 fine, or put 999 in some 925 stuff, and salt it with the lesser stuff. You know what I'm saying? To keep, and I can keep it at a minimum of 900 fine or better by doing that. But I can't take anything that's less than 900 fine in big lots and send it in without getting hit with probably a 5 or 10% fee, extra fee or something, if they'll even take it.
Well,
So.
so you're saying you can sneak in, an 80% junk Canadian, whatever it is, shilling.
Oh yeah,
What
yeah,
do
I
they
can
call?
melt that.
But, but I mean, you have to be able to keep track of the exact fineness you have in each
Yeah,
barrel or something.
yeah. There's some math that I got to do when I do that. So, yeah, trying to figure it and make sure I keep it above that 900 fine. So, but
Yeah.
I find that interesting. They're not hedging. They're not locking in prices. They got bigger minimums. They've got, and again, these are the two major companies. I don't deal with any of the smaller guys out there, so I can't speak for them and what they're doing. And you may get some comments in the comment section and people saying, well, I got a couple small guys that are working with me now. But I can only talk about these two companies that I'm familiar with. So,
Okay. Good. Well, I think the reason that they're not hedging is that it's they lose money on it because sometimes in silver the spot price just jumps over the futures price and then it becomes unprofitable to hedge, so they can't take the risk of doing that. And
I believe
then
that's, again, I think absolutely, I think you're absolutely correct too, because now that rings a bell when I was talking to one of the reps there, and they were explaining that, is that the moves were just so big and so large that it was getting difficult and expensive to hedge. And I think that, some of them may have lost money, hedging for customers or being able to hedge. But not being able to lock in a gold price to me is pretty fascinating. You know what I'm saying? In the past, you could lock in a gold price. Here, I want to lock in this price. But again, they're not allowing you to lock in a price until after your lot is complete. Maybe,
right.
well, because when you lock in a price ahead of time too, I think you can also, you can hedge and get front money and stuff like that. And I think that just costs more. I don't know. Again, I can only tell you what I'm seeing from my perspective. I don't know anything about running a refinery. So.
Yeah. So this is all not instability in gold and silver, but it's instability in the dollar. That's what's going on. It's reflected in gold and silver now because right now the main money is the dollar and gold and silver are the products, but in reality it's the other way around. And that itself is being reflected in the in and out backwardation of silver that's preventing these companies from hedging. So again, what I mean, all in all, what we're seeing, I think, is the flickering of the lights of the dollar system, and we're in those stages where when you have a flickering candle, sometimes it flares up and gets really, really bright, and then it goes way, way down, and then it goes, in and out until it just goes out. So that move to 120 was, a big flare. And then now we're back in the dying phase, but it'll flare up again until the entire dollar burns out, and then we'll see what happens then.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've established some pretty, floors here. I mean, it sort of seems like we've established floors with gold, what, 4,500 it feels like. Maybe, again, that's just my assumption. And then, silver seems like we've established a floor of, what, 65 to 70 or something like that, so, again, these moves are just crazy. First, oil's up, gold and silver and down, everything's down in the red. And it looked like this week it just completely disconnected from all that as well, So I have no clue. I got to listen to guys like you. I got to listen to you or other guys to figure out that end of it. So
I don't know. I'm guessing myself.
yeah, yeah, yeah. My expertise is just in physical product, buying and selling physical product, and who I sell it to, and what I can tell you from what they're doing and stuff like that. That's pretty much where I'm comfortable.
All right. Well, I think you're doing a good job, and
Thank you.
to survive in this environment as a small retailer, I think you really have to actually believe in your products, because
Yeah.
otherwise it'll just, what other kind of dealer is willing to stack a year and a half worth of product and just have faith that you'll be able to sell it at some point. That's got to be very scary.
Um, honestly, no. I mean, yeah, I think anything but silver. I mean, because I know, I mean, I know this is a crude way of doing this, but to me, this is silver.
Hmm.
And if I could, and I'm in a segment of time like this, and all I need to do is just wait out this, just for a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, but
That's
that's what
been
I
my
mean. You
philosophy.
have to believe that
You
it's
believe,
money.
yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
if you understand that, it's just a different form of trading, except you're dealing with actual physical stuff rather than some number on your brokerage account and trying to,
Well, you said
out loss your train.
confident in my product, and I'm 100% confident in my product. I mean, did I yell and scream when I kind of saw it go from 119 down to 70? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I did a little bit. I watched my net worth kind of drop quite a bit there, sitting on all that stuff.
I didn't
However,
see I didn't see it at all because it happened on a Friday and I signed off because I'm on Israel time, and I don't go online on Friday night Saturday. So the next thing I looked, it was Saturday night and it had already gone down to, it was like 120 when I turned off the phone, and then it was like I turned on the phone, it was like 71, 72. I was like, what?
I know that's exactly, but I wasn't panicked about it. I wasn't upset. I just I was okay with it, kind of. I mean,
I
I got
laughed.
upset.
I giggled. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, okay, it's happening again.
Oh no, not again.
I felt bad for people that were buying from that level up, because, the new people. I felt bad for a lot of the new buyers that were buying, at these higher levels. I really did. I felt more for them than I did for me, because they don't understand. They don't have that confidence like I do. So I really did feel for those people. And when I talked to them, I said, relax, relax, have confidence that this stuff is just going to continue to climb in your lifetime. It's going to do this. You're always going to get this, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So in the long term, you're always going to do well with precious metals, gold or silver. You're never going to go wrong. In my lifetime, in your lifetime, it's never reverted back to the low. You know what I mean? It just, again, done this. I love my wiggly finger thing, but when I talk, it's my customers understand this. This is what silver and gold does.
Red rum, red rum.
You know,
Hmm.
so and as long as you can hold through, the little down moments, I think you're always going to do well with precious metals.
Yeah. You know what I saw today? That the only sector that has kept pace with gold since 2000, the only one that I found has been the semiconductors.
Hmm. Well, that has, yeah, it ties in with silver at least.
Yeah. Well,
But
kind of.
yeah, yeah. Well, we're in a whole new, different world now with AI and all this stuff. So yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. Hopefully not for long.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, if there's anything you want to share with the people watching before we sign out, this is Brian Kuzmar of Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals. That's the name of his YouTube channel. There will be a link in a pinned comment below if you want to check out his videos. This is the fish tank that appears in his videos. So you might be able to recognize some of the fish. And Brian, what's your closing message?
You can catch me on X also as Brian Kuzma under my name, not the company name, where I really, I have a lot of fun out there as well. And unlike YouTube, I can interact with people kind of more. I don't know if that's always a good thing, but I can interact with people a lot easier than I can in the comment section on YouTube. But you can catch me in all those places, and I really appreciate it, Rafi. It's always a pleasure talking to you. So.
All right, you too.